Are you a filmmaker? Do you have a film right now that you're looking to submit into film festivals? Well, I have the perfect guest for you as she answers some questions about what a filmmaker should be looking for in a film festival and what is the process behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, join me right now as we go beyond the take. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is me, host of the show, actor, producer, Marc Chouen. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Take podcast. Today, I am joined by a special guest. She is a filmmaker herself. She's done some acting herself. She's a member of the Producers Guild, and she's the executive director of the SoHo Film Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Sibyl Santiago.
Hello, hi everyone.
I love the
Hello, Mark.
background.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite places that I've visited. It's the library in Dublin,
The
in
library
Trinity
in
College.
Dublin.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest libraries I believe in the world. They actually hold the Book of Kells there. I don't know if you know about that one, but
No.
really, yeah, if you're ever into like sort of Gothic mythology and stuff, they have everything there. It's really great.
Wow, that is so cool. It looks beautiful. Um, so yeah, I mean, like really wanted to dive in here with you, pick your brain here, because we're in film festival season. Sundance is by the time this comes out, we'll probably just be wrapping up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would love to pick your brain here. I know filmmakers are probably curious as well, but your insight. First off, let's get to know you a little bit more because when I met you, um, your passion for film was, especially indie film, was so obvious. It just was so, how did I word it? It was contagious. We met at a screening for a mutual friend, Phil
Mhm.
Ramos,
Yeah.
for his film, and his friend as well, David. They both had films playing at the same time.
Yes.
Uh, Tell me, what was it specifically about film that captured your heart?
Well, personally, I actually grew up in the industry. My mom is a veteran actress, producer, and director. So film has always been part of my life. But even my, my siblings and friends and family, like I feel like I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by so many creatives growing up that it was kind of like a natural progression for me to just sort of be exposed to the industry and to see really what's out there, right, in terms of storytelling. And it's really, at the end of the day, it's about the storytelling that I really love and I have a passion for, whether it be in stage and on the screen. It's always been something that I've been gravitating to growing up. So I think it was I just feel a little more blessed because I was exposed to it, and I had a good exposure to it because of my upbringing. But it's really all about, stories about people. If you're curious enough about people and about life, it's hard not to fall in love with the movies, and especially with
Mm,
independent films, because or independent storytelling, I should say, just because I think our industry in terms of the network or in the studio level, sometimes they come out right with the things that they support and they put out there, but not all the time, because it's always about the bottom line for them, for money. Obviously, it's always about money. But the reality is, if it's a matter of appreciating storytelling, there's so much and so many and original ones that you can see in the independent space. And this is why I'm so gravitated to it. And this is why the film festival attachment, it was just sort of a something I needed to do and I wanted to be in. So being a theater girl, same thing with theater, right? Because theater is
right.
like you've done stage as an actor yourself, it's being present and being in the moment. Like, I know it's such a cliche thing to say, but really there's nothing like being on a live stage because
No.
you're here and now. There is
Right.
no take one, take two, I mean, take two, take three. This is it. You make
It's
it
the
happen.
thrill of it. It's the
The
absolute
thrill,
thrill of
and
it.
so much come up when you're there, and with the audiences and being with each other. So I think that's something I always look for when I'm watching a film or a TV show, you
Do you
know.
remember the first film that you saw?
First film that I saw, oh, that's a tough one. It's hard because like I grew up also watching a lot of TV, television.
Yeah.
because my mom
Yeah.
isn't in, and I grew up in studio, so it's a little hard. It's a tough memory for me um say what I would have remembered. But movies
I
that made an impact, maybe I can
Ooh, okay.
remember. In
Okay.
terms of
Well,
film that made an impact on me, there were two particularly that really kind of hit me as a child growing up in terms of watching. Well, maybe I should say three levels of it, right? Because when I was a kid, my grandmother also loved going to the movies, and my grandma used to bring me to those double features, and
the
we would
best.
watch the craziest thing. Like she loved watching, like things like Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, things like that, or like
Okay.
anything with the big monsters and such. And I actually really enjoyed that. But sort of like coming into my own consciousness, two movies particularly stuck to me. And that would have been me first watching Memento, because that movie really kind of hit
Ooh.
me hard in terms of what it was about. It was so like after watching it, I needed to watch it again because I was so curious about all the things that happened in it, or what I thought happened and I'm not sure happened.
I feel like you could watch that movie like a million times and you
Oh
pick up
yeah,
on something
yeah.
new. It's
But when
it's
you're
an
really
amazing
young, you
film.
don't know what you're looking
Right.
for. So it's sort
Right.
of that confusion of like, what is happening?
I
And I think that
can't I can't imagine that being someone's like first. I know you said it's not your first film, but like, can you imagine if like someone's watching a movie for the first time and that's the movie? Like that breaks like all the
well,
rules.
I'll even top it. I also at that same time saw the movie Pi, which is
Oh,
another one
oh
that
no
just
way.
like threw my head on a loop. And then maybe next level to that is more studio is Jacob's Ladder. So I think those
Wow.
I guess three films that sort of made me just like question so many things, and then
Right.
you start getting more curious, and then you start trying to understand why they made the film, who made it, what's the story about, like why this story, like how did it even come about, and those things, those curiosity was sort of what got me really sort of locked in. That was when it was like, this is where I'm going to be.
I like to ask this to a lot of my different guests. So when you were first starting off into this journey of entertainment of the industry itself, was it in the mindset to be a director? Was it to be an actor? Was it to be I feel like no one ever
It's an
says
actor.
producer, but like I feel like everyone
Yeah,
just falls
yeah.
into producing.
Exactly. You know the drill. No,
Right.
I actually came in as an actor because I was a child actor. I did start acting as a my first film, major film was I was barely two. I was just about to turn two, and I was in a walk on in a film. And I think so acting was always part of my DNA growing up also because of my mom. So I did a lot of stage and film and television. And then when I was younger, I was born here, but my mom brought me to the Philippines. And like I said, she's somebody there. So it was kind of, I guess, in a way natural for me to kind of get into the business while I was there as well. So I was part of like a long running prime time sort of evening show there, and did some movies. So it was always as an actor. But it's interesting because when I came back here, I was part of a dance company that was touring, so that kept a lot of my time. But acting was always part of my, what I did, even in high school. So I would leave school and be at a theater company, and I did a lot of theater and touring. And the thing is, I think when I got to an age where I was going out on my own and sort of, going for auditions and things like that, um, I started realizing the difference between like working on stage and on film. Like there was just not a lot of roles for me. It was really difficult because I was competing for roles that are either very well, what's considered inappropriate now, because being Asian, like it's always like you get put into into what the trope would be.
Right.
There was no real roles per se that was available for someone who's Asian American. I mean, in theater it's different, right? In theater you get cast for. I played a Southern Belle in a play,
Right.
like
Right.
it's like they don't look at your necessarily. It's how you portray the character. But film and TV for a long time has always been about what their idea was. Like
Yeah.
I actually went for an audition, and I will never forget this. I was, just at the end of my teens, about to turn 20, and I went for a role that actually specifically said Filipino, right?
Oh
When
wow.
back
Okay.
then it was which is weird because back then they didn't even know which is which they didn't, because I went for that role. And the feedback I got from the agent is that you're just not Asian enough and you don't look Filipino. And I was like, I actually
No.
am Filipino, and I'm like, I even speak three dialects from there. How is that? So that means there is an idea of what. And by the way, they ended up casting a Chinese character, a Chinese person to play the. So it just goes to show you.
Oh my God.
And then every time I'm in a room, I compete with, I got more roles as a Latina than an Asian because they don't consider me Asian. But I'm in New York and Latino in New York. I would be the minority because there's a lot of all kinds of Latinos in New York. But it goes shows,
Yeah.
but I've gotten those roles because it shows you the ideas that they have of who these characters are. And I,
They definitely do. Like, and I think for me, and it sounds like maybe for you too. That's why I got into like the producing side as far as like making my own roles because I can't tell you how many times because I'm ethnically ambiguous as they would call.
Mhm. Tell me, I
Um,
know that's where I am too because they don't know what to call me.
right. They don't know what to label me, right? So I'm not white enough. I'm not Spanish enough. I'm not Middle Eastern at all. But they'll
Hmm.
have me out audition for a bunch of Middle Eastern parts.
Hmm.
Um, it's just wild. So it gets frustrating, and then you fall into those tropes, as you say, and like. At first, like, hey, I'm getting auditions, I'm getting professional auditions, awesome. But then after a bit, it's like, it's not why I got into acting. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing really to sink my chops into here.
Yep.
So then you start creating your own work, and that's when I talk about producing. Everyone just accidentally falls into it, and that was my reason why. Was that something similar for you?
Yep, exactly that. So for a while, because I do have experience, my mom had a production company. So me and my sisters had experience working on set with her. I'm sorry, my lighting is not doing very well today.
No, all
Um,
good.
I probably look like a ghost too. I feel like I look ghostly, so I apologize. I'm trying to scare people. And um, I don't know what's going on, but like, my light's not working right.
And with like
Um,
the setting too and everything.
I know. I would just see. I could just see.
Hey, we're
There you
casting
go.
right now. We're casting
Speaking
for
of
ghosts.
tropes, you're there. You're with a trope now. See, there we go. Does
Looks
it work?
great, actually. It does work. That works really well.
That's so funny. I just realized that I look because I don't usually look at my. I looked at my screen. I was like, "Oh, I look really scary." Um,
Viewers, comment on the bomb. Would you cast Sybil as a ghost? Yes or no? Poll to follow.
no, but it's really interesting because because I have experience, I've always helped my friends. People have asked me to help in production, and I do because I'm efficient at it. I'm quite good at because I know what to do. And it's interesting because I never really intended to be a producer. It was like maybe you had the same experience. Well, you said you started wanting to do your own projects. So in my case, it wasn't something I had gone out to do, but I ended up doing and helping people with. Um, and then um, and then I ended up getting attached to a bigger project that I came in originally as an actor, and the director of that film at that time, that was going to be directing at that time, his name is John Gallagher, and he actually asked me, if I would be, come on and help on the back end because I had producing experience, to also kind of AP, and just help out with the production. I was like, why not? I mean, I love being on set. That's the thing. I love being on set. I love being, in production. So like I would love to be there more than the 2 days I might be shooting. You know what I mean? Because then
Right,
when you're
right.
part of production, you're there for like the 26, 30 days,
You
whatever it
become
is,
part of
right?
a family. Yeah.
Exactly. And in this case, being an AP meant I was part of pre-production. So I was like, you know what? Why not? Right. And that happened to be a film that is directed by the son of Mel Brooks, Nicholas Brooks. And him and I, started really, becoming really good friends through this whole project. I've met him prior to that, but we didn't know each other well, but we got to know each other well through like all the prep and the pre-production. And I ended up becoming a really big part of that whole development part of it, that they asked me to actually come on as a full producer. And then John got sick, and John was executive producing it. So basically, Nicholas asked me to. I ended up becoming the main producer of this feature film, and then his
Amazing.
dad, Mel Brooks, came on to executive produce and wanted this film to be a bigger project than what was initially on the table. So it became like a much bigger project, and that's when we were doing all the paperwork and stuff, and it was when, like, Mel Brooks and Nick tell me, like, what, you need to have your own production company. I was like, what do you
Mhm.
mean? Because you're the main producer now, so if you're going to be producing this film, you should have your own entity as well, and what might not. And at first I was like, why? Like I can just work as a producer, but they're like, no, it would be good for you. And I took the advice. How do you say no to Mel Brooks, right?
Right, right.
Or
And
you don't say. I
and
was like,
for
no.
those that don't know that, for the audience that may not know here, what did they say the reason was behind that?
When you're doing a feature film, obviously a lot of times you might have like a production, already sort of like as the umbrella for the film, right? But to protect the project and producers, usually you would start an own entity for the film itself. It just makes it easier for bookkeeping, for accounting and things like that, taxes and such. And also if the film makes money, and it becomes a little more delineated. um and me as a producer, I could go under that. I could go under the production that came in, or I can go under the production, which I am under the production of the film as well. But there is a benefit and an extra sort of protection and padding for me as a producer, just for any other reason, legal stuff, accounting stuff, if I have my own company that protects me as Sybil, the individual producer. So, and it took a minute for me to understand, because at that point I really wasn't, like I said, I wasn't planning to be a producer as a career. um Even though I was working a lot at that time in different productions helping,
Right.
I always thought I was just sort of hired producing help, right? But now it becomes my own, because this one is now I have ownership in this film in a bigger way. So I took the advice, started my production company, and I didn't think I was going to do much after that. But that really led to a lot of, because it's word of mouth. I never advertised myself a producer either, because I'm always out there as an actor. And it's just like people, the word spread, they're like, oh, Sybil produced this, she's, what may not, recommendations. And it kind of just from there, I was very, very fortunate to be working a lot after that, because I've been asked a lot to produce stuff.
Did you find it like, I don't want to say annoying, but like, especially when you view yourself as an actor first, when you get introduced to people, people always tend to like highlight, oh, they're a producer, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you're first meeting someone else, like how they tend to view you, as they forget the fact that you're an actor. Yeah, have you encountered that at all?
It's tough, because I think when you get to a certain level as well. So now, like I said, I'm on producer guild, I'm in BAFTA, like I'm doing, and some of my films have done well. That, yes, people have seen me now to a certain level, as a producer, that a lot, like I have a lot of friends that are casting directors, big casting directors. And I can never talk to them about my acting, because I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? It's
Right,
just not what I
right,
would. it's,
yeah.
so it's a little bit hard, because you can only hope that they'll remember. You don't really want to be like, oh, remember I still act, like, so.
It's like, oh,
So
silly
it's sort
you.
of like I just accepted my fate in a sense. Actually, that's what happened. I kind of accepted my fate, and I just started working, mostly producing. And I had projects that I was involved in that I agreed to produce, or I decided to produce, because I have a role in it, and I'm like, oh yay,
Ah,
finally.
okay, okay.
But as a producer mind, producer brain, when you
You can never
start
shut it
building,
off.
you can't. So then you start thinking about this project, and then because now you're meeting more people that and you have friends that are maybe more famous now than you, right? And
Mhm.
then you start realizing, oh, maybe if I make this film with her instead, because she has 9 million followers or whatever, maybe I give up my role, because she can bring money to the film. You know what I mean? Like, so you start thinking
Right.
that way, and then little by little I start pushing myself out of my own projects, which is kind of insane, I know, but that's sort
I
of become the pattern for a bit.
I had something similar happen to me recently, regarding a play. Where I was like thinking, it's like, oh wait, if we get a star in this, like to replace me, we this would have an easier path for. But then it was just like, oh wait, no, I really love this part, blah blah blah. Yeah, it becomes a conundrum. You can never the brain off. Once you start producing, it just never shuts off. Especially when you board a project of any sorts, like you just can't help yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I read a script and I'm like, oh, this is going to be expensive. Can they really make this? Like things like that. Like, it's
Right.
hard not to. But I think there was a little switch that happened though during the pandemic for me. Um, because I really kind of just forgot about even trying, because also I felt like there were no roles for me. I got frustrated with the business as an actor, that I was just like, at least I'm working as a producer. But then, like, when the pandemic happened and we are all locked up, as you know, or the year following, an interesting thing happened because my agent, who I haven't heard from in I don't know forever, suddenly was calling me and saying, "Oh, there's things going on. Would you be available as an actor?" And the thing is, during the pandemic, as a producer, I even got myself certified for whatchamacallit, to be um to I'm blanking out right now, but I got myself certified to make sure that the COVID compliance, sorry, COVID
Oh,
compliance officer.
compliance, Scott. Yeah,
Yeah, because I wanted to know what it would entail to be back on set, and I got myself certified so I know what's required and needed. And I think I got a little bit concerned as a producer to really do any in-person producing at that time, because I didn't want to risk
of
anything happening
course.
to my people, because that falls on me as a producer, because now
Yeah,
I'm the production company now, so it's like the liabilities and what might not. So I kind of decided to put a hold on the producing, and then like I said, out of nowhere, my agent started calling, and I'm like, sure, I'll go for this and that, and shockingly, like the first five that he sent me, I booked like four of them. So I was like, oh, so
whoa.
maybe I can still do this. So then
Hashtag still got it.
I guess it's still there. They're not major things, but they're good things. They're like
Right.
network and studio. So I was like, this is great. So it kind of reminded me of what started the fire to begin with.
Mm,
So then, yeah, so then I kind of started to realize, you know what, I shouldn't push myself off on some of these projects that I had in mind, that I was supposed to be attached to anyway, including ones that was brought to me because they had me in mind, but asked
right.
me to produce. So, but it's always still kind of like a rubber band scenario. It goes back
I
and forth.
feel like it's an internal struggle that like not many people talk about. I'm like honestly, I've never heard anyone else like articulate that inner struggle. Walking those two paths. But it's something like I deal with myself. So it was actually
Mhm.
refreshing to hear that. So let's talk about this too. Like, you're executive director of the SoHo Film Festival. Uh, as a filmmaker, how did that come to be? Was that something like, oh, I want to get more involved in film festivals? Let's talk about that.
So, back in I want to say 2010, basically, I was more on the acting side back then. I bumped into on set of a production that I was work of a film that I was working in, and it's a studio film. A friend of mine that I haven't seen in years, during my dance company days, we're talking about when I was like a teen, was on the same set. I didn't recognize him, but he came up to me and goes, Civil? And I was like, and I'm like, just so we start talking, and then I realized that that was a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in a long, long time. And he was starting the film festival that year, his first year. And we were talking about film, and he knew that I was working on them. I have a lot of still friends that are, the like my buddies that are all working. So like at the time, Sopranos was big. So I was like, yeah, I know this. And then they know that I know all these people. So he asked me if I could help with the festival and maybe just look into, maybe advising or consulting and what might not. So which I was like, that would be great, because like I said, independent films, I go to the
Right.
Angelica. Back then, I used to go to the Angelica with my friends and watch like the films that came
Oh,
out, and a lot
that's
of foreign
awesome.
films too. I love foreign films. Um, so I did on the first year kind of see what they were doing, and they started this festival sort of like out of a loft. That's the first year of it. Got good press, but it was a pop-up festival. But he asked me if I would help him bring it to the next level because he wanted to his name is Jorge Balos. He's the founder of the festival. And like I said, him and I, we got along really well. So I said I would love to. I would look into it and to help you for the next year. So that's what we did. I came on, I advised a bit. And then he asked me officially to be part of that year so that I can bring in some of my friends that are, bring the red carpet, because that helps a lot. Helped we That was the year that I said, we need to bring this to a theater. So we started looking at theaters, and the Quad at that time, which was still family owned, that's the other one that you go to besides Angelica, right? That had like all these independent films. So we went to the Quad and actually ended up meeting with the Ken Bars with Maurice, and who's the owner at that time. And we made a deal with them to bring the festival there for that, basically the first year of the official festival, but the second year technically for the festival,
Got it.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we went there, and it was a big success. Like I was able to invite some of my friends came, like Michael Imperioli showed up with his film. Like there was like, it was, so we were able to get press, we were able to get people, and these are people that actually really support independent cinema. I helped program that year, and we were able to bring in some, some good films, and it was word of mouth that basically after that it kind of spread. So basically, I was going to help that one year. Have
And you never
16
left.
years to go. We're in our 17th year this year.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, so it kind of from there, because I loved being able to help some of these filmmakers and to see what was happening, because it's the world that I'm in and it's the world that I love being in. So that's sort of how it happened and just expanded from there. Now we're at 17 years. We have, from like that 2 day event, it's now a 7 day, 8 day event actually with the awards. It's like
Wow.
become like a bigger, and the loyal following of the festival has grown because they know that most of, like, I'm like, again, I'm a producer, filmmaker, actor. I have my, George was an agent and an actor also. And then a couple of our friends at that time, like everyone that comes getting involved are in the business. So we all know what it's like to be on the other side of it, being the filmmaker that's trying to get to festivals. And at that time, I used to go to a lot of festivals for the films that I'm in, and I've had great experiences and I've had really terrible ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think the biggest goal for me when I got on and he wanted me to run the festival, and I ended up running it since, is that I wanted the filmmakers to feel that they were all important, that this is because their project is important and everyone involved in it, meaning like not just the actors that are in it. I mean, as an actor, of course, I will always support the actors, but the film is not about just the actor. It's about the
No.
filmmaker, it's about the writer, it's about your cinematographer, it's about your team behind it, the whole crew. So, like our red carpet, I always insist that the whole cast and crew get their
Mm.
photos on the red carpet. That's one of the big things our festival's known for, because we don't do just the celebrities. We do like our, whoever's involved in the film, because it takes a village, and that's the reality of it. And I want to acknowledge that. I want to respect that, because I think that's what we all come in this together. Like the project succeeds or fails, we're all affected by it. So it's always a team effort. So that's why we make it a point with the festival. And I think that's why our follow, we have a good loyal following for the festival for that very reason. I think they know. I think most filmmakers that come know that everything that we get, we give back, because that's what the festival's about.
It's funny, like, there are like what, 1,800 film festivals or something like that in the world and growing, right? And like New York by itself, I mean, there's just, I can't even,
And more every day,
yeah,
apparently.
right,
Coming
right.
up.
And you would think that, like, when you start up a film festival, they're coming in with that same energy, with that same passion, but it's not like that in every film festival. And that's really cool that you guys do that. So, like, in your words, I mean, in your mind, you said you're going to plenty of film festivals. Now you know what it takes, like, to build something up from the ground up and as festival wise. Like, what really does separate the great film festival to a good festival to, like, why are you even running?
Well, I think you get first of all, my advice for anyone watching that's a filmmaker, or trying to decide on what festival to do your research before you submit. Even if you have a lot of money to just, because that's the thing, there's some that just have money and they just submit to whatever's available.
Yeah,
But there are those that are so limited, like most independent filmmakers are limited in their funds, and that's the reality of it, right? Because you're making
right.
this, some people are mortgaging their homes just so they can make their art. It's really so much sacrifice goes into a lot of these independent
That's
films.
part of the budgets that, like, you tend to build in, especially when you're doing a
Exactly.
short film or whatever. It's just like, all right, well, how the festivals, like, we have to have a budget specifically for that.
Yeah.
Um, if you go into that blind, and whew, you're
Yeah,
gonna blow through
exactly.
it.
That's why you want to do your research so that you target your festivals, so the ones that you know that your film, fits the program, and also be realistic on your expectations what your film is like, and don't rely on begging for waivers and festivals, because that's just not how it works. A lot of times there's some festivals that might accept all these waivers, but they don't always necessarily look at your film, right? They just do it for their maybe reputation. I don't know. Be realistic, because if you're gonna if you fit a program of a festival, if you know that your film is the type that they'll take, then your chances are going to be higher no matter what, right? So um I would say, in terms of your question, of gauging what's why the hell would I even do this, good or great, I think that all be answered if you do your research, because from there you'll know, even just from looking at reviews from other filmmakers, looking at what they're, because reviews you can't 100% trust either, right? So you got to
Right,
look at
especially
what,
nowadays. Yeah,
So you have to specifically look at what their review is about. Is it about their experience because of their film? And then look up what their film was, that made it to the festival, and whether that's the same as something, you know what I mean? Not that you have the same project, but just know that this is the kind of stuff that this press festival are open or willing to look at and program versus not, so you're not wasting your money and your time. um Again, if you're rich and you just have a lot of money and you can just throw it out on the wall like and see what sticks, then that's fine, right? But at least be mindful of it. Now, in terms of experiences in the festival itself, I think the festival that first of all, the biggest goal when you go to a festival, right, is for your film to be seen, number one.
Yes.
And then second is that hopefully someone important will see it, to either, depending on what it is. If it's a short, it's going to kind of become your calling card, right? If it's a feature, maybe you need distribution, like things like that. So by having more people seeing it, especially in the industry and such, then your chances are higher to meet those people that you need, that can help you to your next project or for this specific project to move forward. So I think that's important to know. And when you know that, then it becomes really good to begin with the festival, right? I think a great festival is when you can have that and also have an opportunity to actually meet and get to know each other at the event itself.
Yes.
Because a lot of the bigger tier festivals is does not always give you the opportunity to do that. Just because something has a big name doesn't mean that's the festival that will give you the recognition or the time of day. Because what happens is, like I've had friends that debuted at like some of these, I don't want to mention names, obviously, but mention
No.
some big festivals. And literally they may have gotten, they had bragging rights and be able to show it. And it's good for their resume no matter what. But honestly, like not nobody important that they wanted to see the film saw the film. Distribution didn't happen because nobody, like, it's like it went nowhere. And also they didn't get the red carpet treatment that the big films got, because obviously those festivals will put the red carpet to the big films. They
Yeah.
didn't get, they literally, it's their own sort of, just like, at least it just looks good in their resume. And that to me makes me sad, because it's a big effort and a lot of money, that they
Absolutely.
put marketing wise trying to get that beer. So
And
it's
some of
it's
those festivals, it's like some people's dream festivals, and like they finally get to experience that. It's like they walk away, not like all the time, but like, some people like walk away crestfallen because it wasn't the experience that they would hope.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was actually going to ask, and like kind of led into this. Do you feel like, and I don't want to mention any names, but do you feel like some festivals have gotten away from like essentially why they started, why they kind of gotten away
Absolutely.
from their roots?
Absolutely. That's the reason SoHo has done well. So SoHo was built, like I said, around 2010, because a lot of the New York filmmakers were really, speaking of being crestfallen and disappointed, that a certain festival was built to revive New York, right?
Mhm.
A lot of money went into it after
Mhm.
9/11 to make it be, to give New York sort of like this big thing again, right? Especially in the filmmaking community. And a lot of the New York filmmakers felt like they were never given a time of day to even have an opportunity to be in the festival, because it quickly, after, because it has major corporate sponsors, it's become quickly a studio festival,
Yeah.
meaning like what's independent at that time, at least, were like Weinstein independent films or Magnolia or Sony. So they were not like independent films, but they were
Right.
independent by the studio level. So it's still like what, 10 million up, what might not, right? Or
Right.
5 million even and up. No, mostly 10 and up. So the real independent filmmakers feel like, why? What happened? I thought this was for us, right? They thought that this was going to be our Sundance, but it wasn't. So Soho kind of was built from those filmmakers that were like, let's do our own thing. And their first year, that's kind of what happened. They were expecting to get maybe 20 submissions, so 50 submissions, right, when they put it out at that time. It was without the box was still around, which is how you submitted films.
I remember
And
that. Yes.
remember that? So ended up, because it was a short time frame to when the festival was going to be put up, because it's a pop-up in a big loft in Soho at that time. And it ended up getting like 200 submissions, which, for
Wow.
someone who's never had done this before, they were just like, wait, why is there so many submissions? And at that time the target was mostly New York. So it suddenly kind of, that's why this on the second year George asked me to come and let's see if we can legitimize this, make it like a real thing, because there was a need. There was obviously a need and a want. So in a way, you know how like Slam Dance started
Right.
as a Slam 2 Sundance, and now I think they own it too. So like I'm just saying, like that's how it started. Soho was kind of just going to be a festival that was going to help these New York filmmakers, and now it turned out that there was such a need for it that it got bigger quickly and word of mouth, because it was necessary. And at that time, I guess the other festivals weren't giving the right stage also for the filmmakers, and that's sort of what kind of brought us to where we are. That's why I thought I was going to be there 1 year, and now I'm there 16 years later. So
No, but that's beautiful though. That's beautiful. Like, so, being a filmmaker yourself, I mean, like, have you, coming into this, like, from a behind the scenes in the film festival world, have you kind of like learned things as a filmmaker as a result?
absolutely. I mean, I'm also the head programmer, so I watch thousands of hours of films through the year, basically, to go through
Wow.
all the submissions. I always go through the submissions. We started with having more screeners, and for a while we had screeners that, would send me like their top choices. But I always have this curiosity as a filmmaker myself and a producer, about why something did not pass their palate. So I tend to go back and I watch the ones that they just say no to, and have pulled out a couple of films that was on the no that I put back in that ends up being programmed.
Interesting.
So yeah, so I really think because of that, that's why I watched all the films. For now, I am, but let's see how much I can do. But I try to watch as many of the films, if not all, and I do try to watch all of them, because I feel like, I guess, maybe if there's one, you know, gift that I have, is that I can stay neutral on a film, in terms of like, even if it's not a genre that I like or I appreciate or I typically watch, I can watch it objectively if I'm watching it for programming. And I have programmed quite a lot of films that are typically not my taste, but I
Hmm.
know that this film is something that someone will appreciate because they see something or they'll hear something, and there's something, whether it be the story or the character, or the way it was made, that will make it be uh worth the time to have it on the festival, and have done well after we accept them. So because of that, it's helped me with the projects that I accept or that I work on what I expect to have at my final product when I'm working, because I know the things that the audiences will gravitate to, if that makes sense. So I
Right.
have so in a way, I have a great cheat sheet for myself, that I can actually get involved in projects that I know people will I, I can program, basically,
So how
because I
how is
can
that
program. I can pick projects that I know can be programmed.
how is that determined though? Like as far as like from because like say for example, like some years are more competitive than others, right? And you only have so many slots to play certain films. Do you find sometimes like a film will come your way, right? That it's just like it's good. It may have gotten in the year prior, or maybe even next year, but this year is just so competitive. Like I don't know if we could get in. Do you have moments like that, and how do you determine it?
So like for us, for example, we started out programming 20 films to like now we're in 100 something films, right? To a festival, because we're
Hmm.
at 7 days. Um, so but each category is different, right? So like I only have certain number of films I can get for my features, only certain number of shorts, only certain number of international, because we're an international festival, so Soho
Yeah.
International Film Festival. So we do have films from other countries that come in, right? For example. So there so it's not a lot of slots when you really come around it. Um so in my case, when programming, I obviously want diversity on the films that I have. I wouldn't program two of the same type or two of the same things, even if they're
Mhm.
good. So there has to be something from one film to another that pops out more, and a reason why we would pick it. And this is probably one of the big conversation out there, right? Like premieres for festivals,
Yeah.
right? Even though a lot of higher tier festivals require premieres, mid-tier festivals, some require it, some don't. We always say we don't require it because we really don't, but it's recommended, because now we're at the level that we're getting so many submissions. And if you're fighting, let's say I have these two films that are very similar, and it will happen because you have such a big volume now, right? So alike, so the same type, but I only have one slot for that I can put one of these two films for. One is not a premiere, maybe had celebrities in it, but no premiere. The other one is no celebrities, but I get the world premiere.
Mm, okay.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
And
The
that makes
chances
sense.
are, because a world premiere for a festival is a big deal because it's the first time anyone or any audience is going to see this film. And and for us, it's a special event when we can give you your debut.
Right.
So of course we prioritize the premieres. Like I said, we make so much effort, and you haven't been to our festival, I don't think, but you should come this year. But
I
we
would
really
love to. Yes.
our red carpet is, everybody loves the red carpet because we actually really roll it out for, like I said, for all the filmmakers and their crew and their cast. So we make it a special event. So that's why the premieres are kind of like what we put the most effort in, because we really want it to be special. And so that you leave oh, that's one more thing. Maybe it kind of adds to the question you asked prior about like what makes a good, great festival and what may not. Because we do that, the filmmakers leave our festival with something. So no matter what, like even the pictures or even the experience where they can see they were made a big deal of, they can use it for the promotions, for the marketing. It's something when you move forward for your film because it makes it a bigger deal. And we try to make it as big a deal. And of course, on the back end of it, I invite a lot of distributors that we don't announce so that they feel comfortable also just looking. And if they see something, then I connect them with the filmmakers. And we've done a lot of that. We have actually a good ratio of films being picked up at our festival. We don't really, we should announce it, but we really don't,
Right.
because my goal is always just as a filmmaker is like, oh my God, good, we made that happen. And that's exactly what I wanted, because that's what I want out of a festival.
Right.
So yeah, so I'm not sure if that answered the question, but
No,
that's sort of
totally.
like,
Totally
yeah.
does. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. Like I feel like I have so many questions to get asked, but I want to be respectful of your time as well. Like I guess let's talk about the landscape of today in indie filmmaking and how it affect the film festivals, I guess. Because, I mean, lots of talk is being made about these mergers that are coming up, especially, Warner Brothers, Discovery,
Mhm.
Netflix, Paramount, which ways it's going. Lots of concerns for both sides, I would say. Netflix being one where people are concerned about what does this mean for the theater experience, and I
Mm.
know Netflix has said some things, walked it back, said some others, and no one's really quite believing it. What is your take on that? Like, is there a concern about the magic of the cinema and how that could possibly affect indie filmmaking and film festivals alike?
Yes, there is a there's a bit of a concern because things have changed quite a bit. Don't forget AI also entered our lives.
Yes.
So much is sort of like in question right now in terms of what films will be moving forward, what it would be like, what filmmaking will be like. We are right now though still, I feel like, at a window where we might have, as independent filmmakers, actually have, I feel, a little bit of control now. If there's a
Mm.
time ever to make your films, it might be now. I didn't feel like this last year. I didn't feel it that way last year because there were so many questions, like you said, and things just seemed so unsure as to where we're even gonna go. I still think cinema, going to the theaters is still an experience that I think everyone should have. And I think we should still be able to go to the movies, not just in your home. I know we all have big screen TVs now and surround sound and it might not, but the experience of watching a film in a room with other people, experience the audience and the big screen it's still to me the art that I hope that we don't lose. It's getting
Yeah.
harder, but I hope that it stays. That's why I appreciate a lot of the filmmaking communities in Europe and in Asia, because films in theater is still the experience that they want. Yeah, it's really more here in the US that it's a little bit been tricky lately.
I think the United
Um,
States has been spoiled because it's just
we've
something
been
that's
very
just been
spoiled.
like, yeah,
And I think because of that, for independent filmmakers, it's actually a good time because these studios and what might not, this doesn't really affect us, right? For at least for independent filmmakers, because these are not the ones that are going to give you your money for your film. That's the reality. You hope they'll buy it, but you don't know. But right now you can like financing and such. It's really hard to go to studios now because of all they're all cutting down. I mean, it's changed so much the landscape of what financing would look like to try to partner up with any of these studios. So it seems like there's a lot more big move in terms of people funding their own films and
Yeah.
making it, just making it and having content, and then eventually selling it and finding a way of selling it to someone or doing their own release. There's a lot more filmmakers doing that right now, doing their own wide release, and it's been successful for some, for quite a few actually. I think the numbers are getting better with that, and because now we have more avenues to do it, and
Yeah.
more ways to get it out there. Um, I know that it feels a little bit grim in terms of just studios what they're doing at the moment, but this is also an opportunity I think for the independent filmmaking community to, because basically people working in the studios are learning what it's like with the independent filmmaker. It's like they're coming into our world and seeing, oh, so now we have to make the scale smaller and have less people on set because we don't really need it, and things like things that independent filmmakers already know, because we're always like
Right.
about money, how much we're very good about making sure that we're efficient with what our spends are, which studios and networks are like so unaware of, and they're
Well,
trying
now,
to learn
now
that
they
now.
become more aware of it, especially,
Yes.
they're answering to the shareholders, et cetera, et cetera. You're
Exactly.
seeing cuts
They
all
got
around.
greedy. They got greedy because especially during the pandemic, when they started seeing people, the consumer, like how much we consume with content, they all got greedy and they got cushy. So they started funding to help, the content so that we just have content for our consuming. But they didn't want to go back because the shareholders started making money already. So they can't go backwards and be like, okay, now pandemic's gone, the strikes are gone.
Right.
So, let's go back to normal. They don't want to because they already got, cushy. So that's why all this chaos, right? But for the independent space, this is the time because all that chaos is happening. Take advantage of it. There's so many empty studios right now that would probably be happy to work with you just so there's work in the studios. There's like so many locations, so many like, vendors, so many people that would be happy. And this is a good time to get your friends that maybe became so busy and too important and too well known during all of these craziness that you haven't been able to collaborate with them. This might be a good time to collaborate. So I feel like we have a window right now because
That's a good
everyone is
point.
looking. Yeah, and as an actor and as a producer, I want like good projects that I can, original projects, and I feel like I have a hunger for that right now. So when I see something gets me excited, then you get people that get involved that are excited. It's nice to work with people that actually look forward to work with you in your projects because they want the project to succeed, not just because they want their paycheck. So,
Right.
I mean, there's paycheck. I'm just saying, like, it's not
No, of
about
course.
just about the paycheck. I mean, like, that it's about the project, like making sure, that the project is made and done. So,
No, it's something I didn't think about before. So, I mean, you bring up a good point. There's just so many studios in New York and now in New Jersey, and like, people get excited. They send me all the time. Oh, look, a new studio's open. I'm like, yeah, but like, I've seen this before. Not a whole lot's filming right now. This could be a write-off for them. But like at the same time, like I didn't think of that. That's a great point. Like there's a lot of empty studio spaces open. Like that is a good opportunity that maybe not a lot
yeah.
of filmmakers have really thought about right now because, like but the past, I think before the pandemic, really, I mean, there was a lot of TV that was really
Hmm.
filming in New York and New Jersey, well, more so New York at that time. But now I'm seeing like a lot more movies filming here,
Yeah.
um,
We
which
always
is
had a lot of
promising.
movies, I think. We always did, but more
But now,
so.
yeah, I feel like now within like the last 10 years, I feel like now it's like a shift to like more movies than TV,
Yeah.
which
Because
is
New York is,
fascinating.
yeah, because they're so good. They're the whole tax incentive that we were the first to give those film tax
Yeah.
incentives, as you know, and then everyone copied and tried to do better. But I think New York is being aggressive to actually go after the industry in a good, I think in a good way, and just
I
and
think
not
New
try.
Jersey pushed them too to do that.
Yeah, because now with New Jersey, this is like trying to compete, which is good for New York no matter what, because
Right
people want
there.
to beat New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Right.
And I think New York will get very busy now because I know a lot of shows just started. I think I
Yes.
feel like it kind of was a bit disappointing because we got through like literally like the end of the world pandemic. We got through it no problem. We survived it. The industry was actually kind of thriving, like making films still and TV back then. But then the strikes was really, I feel like that's really actually what killed us because
Yeah.
there was a way to get around and survive through the pandemic and shoot. Remember with the, like I said, the COVID compliances
Yeah.
and whatnot. Because we're such a resilient industry that we just like, let's do it. We're gonna make this happen. and it worked. But the strikes is a whole other story because it really shut us down completely, and it was back to back.
And then the
So that
fires, can't
was,
forget about that.
and the fire, and then as soon as we finally got out of it and things were beginning to roll, the fires happened in Hollywood of all places, like, like
Right.
literally the Mecca. So it's been just kind of a tough, our industry just got slapped around a little bit.
No
um
pun intended. It's been one battle after another, it seems like the last few
Literally.
years. But here
Agreed,
we are though.
agreed.
But here we are though. We're still standing.
Yes,
I do agree with you.
resilient.
I think I was talking to a bunch of indie filmmakers at another festival that was part of it, and we were talking, it just seems the competition seems so fierce lately for indie filmmaking. And we talk about that as a good thing. You
That's
know,
a good thing. Yeah.
it's a good thing to have because there's certain, especially it was after the pandemic. No, no, excuse me. It was after the
Strikes. Yeah.
strikes, right? And it felt like not many people were making a project. It felt like, we were wrong. Um, it just felt like, oh yeah, we could probably have an easier path to certain festivals. Not the case,
Yeah.
not the case. And it was frustrating at first, but if you look at the grander scheme of things, it's a positive thing,
It
because
is. You know,
cinema is still alive.
last year, our festival, I thought we would have less submissions because of everything, like I said, like after the strike and the fires and all that, I really expected to be, and we didn't. We had a record submission last year.
It's
And so I kept
amazing,
saying, people kept saying they're not working. And I was like, all of these films, they all shot. So like, what is going on? It's happening. So because independent film, we're the independent space is talking about resilience. We're even more resilient than the industry in general. Right. So I think because we just do it, what we have to do it. And, New York, come on. New
right?
Yorkers don't sit down and wait and twiddle thumbs. New Yorkers are just like, let's pound the pavement. What do I do? Yes, I have a wait job right now. Let me finish my shift and let's go shoot all night. That's just how it goes. It's our
Right.
life. It's literally our life. So I think
We're
this
too
year
stubborn.
also,
We're too stubborn to
oh,
quit
we're
or to
way too
let go of
stubborn.
our dream, Like we just love it way too much.
Yeah.
Um, and the people, not people, but certain outside influences could try to stamp that out. But we're cockroaches, man. We're gonna stay, we're gonna stay.
Sticking
We're
around.
gonna stay
Yeah.
creating.
Yeah, but so I think it's a good thing. I think it's very promising. I think New York, I mean, we have already crazy amount of submissions and we're only in January. I still have a half a year of submissions coming. It is a little crazy that we have
Whoa.
so much. So, and we just, we opened in November. So in the last 3 months, I couldn't believe how many submissions we got. So that means people are making stuff, they're
Right.
going, they're doing it. And also internationally, like people are just it's different. I went to London for Focus London in December, and I'm so glad I went because like I said, last year here felt a little bit like it kind of was dampening in the spirit, but after going there I realized no, the world hasn't stopped. People are moving and shaking, and we shouldn't be stopping. We should keep going, and that's why I'm a little bit more sort of alive again, coming back, because I said, well, it's not dead, that people are out. And now seeing New York, like all the studios, it's gonna get busy, and now I'm hearing about a lot of the shoots starting. So it's good. I think it's gonna be.
We're
Um,
back.
I think so. It's
We're
not.
back.
It's not gonna be easy. Still, I'm not
No,
saying it means it's easy.
it's
It
never
just
been
means
easy in the industry,
no.
and
It's
that's a
not.
good thing. That shouldn't be easy.
Yeah, but we will. I think work will be back. Hopefully. And because we know we don't want to lose some of our good people in this industry that have been kind of leaving for
No,
a
we
while.
have,
Don't
yeah,
want to slow
we
down.
we have been. We have definitely been losing
Yeah.
people because people need to live.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's been unfortunate, but hopefully they do come back. Hopefully it's not forever, but
Yeah.
I'm glad to see, here in LA too, things are trying to come back. It's I don't want to put all the hope out there in the world, like false hope, but it's looking more promising than it was last year from when we started
I
in
agree.
January 2025.
I agree.
So it
Well, the
hope
fires, last year was a terrible start with the fires in
terrible,
LA. Just
terrible.
people are just recovering now, a year later.
Right. It's
So
like, I thought you said survive till 25. What you at?
I know the world has gone a little bit nuts.
It has.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, though, that we're turning the corner here. Sybil, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have to head out. I feel like I have so much more I'd love to talk to you about, but perhaps another
No
time.
worries.
Thank you so much for your time,
Of
and
course.
I can't wait to check out the festival this year.
Yes, you have to
What
be
are
there.
what are the dates so people
Oh,
can
sorry.
mark in the calendar?
Yes. It's the SoHo International Film Festival. It's going to be running October 7th through the 13th here in New York City. So we're excited about that. It's our 17th year. And yeah, I hope to see you guys over there.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, Sybil. You've been
Thank you.
you're the best. Love it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Bye.
I told you. She has such a passion for filmmaking that is contagious. And I felt it here in this podcast as well from the first time I met her as well. It was the same thing. And can we just talk about that background? Dublin, Ireland, having one of the oldest libraries, that was cool looking. I definitely want to check that out. But yeah, I definitely learned a lot with this podcast. I was always wondering, you know, the mindset of someone who's like deciding these films and film festivals and like, what goes in and what doesn't. Some things seemed a little obvious that, I didn't necessarily think about. Hopefully it was insightful for you as well. And hopefully you continue to enjoy this journey of Beyond the Take podcast. Follow us on all forms of social media on Beyond the Take Pod. Continue to like and subscribe, spread the word, and share your thoughts. Let me know if there's any questions you have about the industry at all. Maybe I could have a guest that could better answer it. And let's keep cinema alive, guys. It's just one of my fondest, oldest memories has been in the movie theater. And the times that we live in right now, it's just, I can't imagine a time frame without it. Like, I see my daughter growing up, and this year I'm excited to take her to her first movie. A couple movies coming out right now that I'm excited to take her to, that she's excited about going. And I can't wait to share that experience with her. And it would break my heart the idea that one day movie theaters might not exist or even just be the same with what I had growing up. So let's keep that theater experience alive. And yes, I know it's on the studio, it's on us to have good films, but there are good films out there. And there's great film festivals out there too, local film festivals, not just New York. If you're just in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, there are film festivals in Kentucky. Uh, I implore you, check it out and support the indie arts, please. Thank you. That that's all I gotta say about that. I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Much love. Cheers.